Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from AnthonyMorganti.com, and this is episode 36 of Photo Critiques. And in Photo Critiques, people send me in some of their best work, and I critique each shot with suggestions on how they could improve it. And today, I'm pleased to critique the work of James Wong. James sent me in 10 images of varying subjects. The first few are of nature, and this one's kind of interesting. I like these kind of natural leading lines that the four petals of the plant, or leaves of the plant, not petals, I'm sorry, four leaves of the plant help kind of lead your eyes towards the middle to resolve on something. And in the middle we have a bug. But the problem is it's not sharp. You really, whenever you're doing macro photography of flowers and bugs, the focus is the most important thing. So you really have to well, composition's important, but focus is of utmost importance. You won't have a good shot if it's a soft focus shot, generally speaking, with a bug in it. So you focus on the eyes, and you get this so it's like so sharp, you could see the scales, you could see the the bug, little intricacies of the bug. The other thing is you have to get the whole bug in the frame. He's going out of the frame at the top and at the bottom. So you have to get an angle, whatever you need to do to get the entire bug in the frame. And really got to get that tight focus. Really nice plant though here, the way these leading lines. So when you guys are shooting bugs in the wild, look for a plant like this that'll help give you the opportunity to have some leading lines come in and hope that a bug lands here. And you'll really have a fantastic shot. This here we have some head movement of the bird, and as I look at the info panel, it was 1/40th of a second. Now he used a 70 to 200 millimeter lens, but he was at 320 millimeters, so that tells me that he was using a teleconverter on the lens. At 320 millimeters, you really have to shoot it at least 1/350th of a second. Preferably 1/500th of a second, 1/1000th of a second. So you really need to shoot in shutter priority mode when you're photographing wildlife, especially birds, and you want to use as fast a shutter speed as possible. And if your aperture goes wide open, that's fine. Just be aware you're going to have very limited depth of field. So you want to you want to shoot a bird broadside if possible, just like this, so you don't have the back of the bird going away and the beak coming towards you. So this would be a good angle to get at the bird broadside, because if you use a wide aperture, you're going to have that limited depth of field. Just be very careful if you're not using a tripod. The little bit, if you lean in or lean back a little bit, you're going to throw the focus off, so be very careful. Focus on the eyes, and as fast as shutter speed as you could get away with. In this case, it would be at least 1/350. You need I'd go 1/1000th of a second if I could. You might have to boost the ISO up. That's not as desirable. You don't always want that because you want to get as much detail as possible. But if you're the lighting's good, it still should minimize noise, and you could use some post-processing to help minimize noise also. So I mean, would you rather have a low noise shot with head movement, or a really frozen shot with a little noise in it that you hopefully probably could get rid of in post-processing? And that's the trade-offs you have to deal with. As far as the composition is, you don't really want anything between your lens and the bird, and we have this plant material here coming down in front of the bird, so it's obscuring part of the bird. So this probably wasn't the best vantage point to be at to shoot this bird. So you want to be somewhere where the plants are behind the bird. So optimally, if you could have been on the other side shooting at the other side of the bird, all the plants would have been behind it. Now this shot too, the focus is much better in this shot, and there's some movement though down here in the tail, and there's this plant material in the front, in the foreground, that is obscuring part of the beak. Again, this is a 1 second exposure. That's just too slow, especially at 400 millimeters. So he was using a 2x teleconverter with a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. Now wide open is a 2.8, but with the teleconverter it would be 5.6. No, it would be even more than that. It'd be like, I don't know, my head's mush today, it's a little late, but it would be 2 stops more closed. So whatever, f of 8 maybe. I'm sure someone's going to email me and let me know what it is. So you know, f of 8 maybe. So that still isn't that wide open, but you'd have to boost the ISO then. So that's the trade-offs you get. You know, the 3 things controlling exposure are your shutter speed, your ISO, and your aperture. And in this case, you'd want that aperture as wide as you could make it, just as wide as it could go. And you'd want the shutter speed as fast as you could make it without shake. And in this case, it would be at least probably 1/500th of a second. And that means your ISO is going to have to go up. The vantage point 2 again on this one is an optimum. You have stuff between your lens and the bird. You need the bird all alone. You got to get the entire bird in the frame. Don't cut any of it off. And especially if it's eating a meal, it has something in its beak. You need to get all of that in the shot. This too, wow, this is ISO of 10,000, and actually as you look at it, there is some noise, but there isn't that much noise. So you know, it's a very nice job controlling the noise. 1/400th of a second with a 400 millimeter lens. That's very good. The problem again though is this branch that's in front of the bird, between the lens and the bird. You really need to get all bird and get the foliage behind it. So in this case, this spoils the shot, this branch right here. So you got to try to get a different vantage point. Now this shot, conversely, is really perfect. This is an excellent shot. I mean, this twig coming down in here, it's kind of a tiny bit distracting. You could, if you really were so inclined, you could get rid of that Photoshop. But this is an excellent shot. Excellent focus. The shutter speed 1/30th of a second with a 400 millimeter lens. I assume he had a tripod, because that's like very hard to handhold to get this crisp and clear of a shot. So this one is a very nice shot. You got the whole bird in the frame. There's no foliage between you and the bird. I mean, it's on this perch, but that's okay. And very nicely done. And this too, excellent shot. This is, you know, beautiful. Looks like he used a flash. And this shot too, it kind of looks like there's a flash. There's a catch light on the eye right here. So I think there might have been a flash used. You know, it was a slow sync flash. I'm not sure. You know, 1/30th of a second. This is 1/160th of a second on this one, and the catch light is right square in the eye, and I think there was a flash used on this one too. If that's the case, you probably could have turned the ISO down. I don't know how powerful your flash was, but I would have brought the ISO down, and you know, down at 100 if you're using a flash. Now we're done with the wildlife. This is a very nice panorama. This was at 121 seconds, so you know, there's 2 minutes here, and you know, very well done. You know, very nice exposure. Now, in past critiques, you've seen some of the people, they have these starburst effects on the lights, and typically you would get that with a aperture that's shut down, usually around f16 or so, even maybe even a little more. And not all lenses will do it. It depends on how the lens was made, whether or not it will give you that starburst effect. If you don't get it, if you use a wider you know, aperture like f10, f8, you'll get just the glow, which is fine. It came out very nice. Now this one here, we got kind of competing kind of like stars of the show. We have this butterfly and we have the plant. Well, my eyes looking at it, and which do I want to really notice? And we're not seeing the butterfly broadside, so we're not really seeing any detail in the butterfly, and the plant is kind of far away, and everything isn't super clear. I mean, it's in focus, but the square crop tells me that James cropped to get this close image of the butterfly and the flower. So really, you got to think of composition. Generally, you want to show as much detail in the shot when you're doing these type of macros with insects in them, specifically butterflies. You want as much detail as possible. So you want your ISO as low as it could go. You want to get as much of the butterfly in the frame as you can. So in this case, even if you wanted the flower, if you could have moved around to your left or moved around to your right and shot broadside so the butterfly was flat to the frame, we would have had more of the butterfly to look at, and it would have made the shot more interesting. Okay, now this one, this is a scene where I always say work the scene, and I want to clarify something because of an email I got. When I say work the scene, I don't mean spray and pray, meaning don't go in there and take a zillion shots and hope you got one good one. What I mean is, when you go there, decide what I want you to, I want you to ask yourself two questions. Number one, what is the star of the show? What do I want to exploit in my photograph? What do I want to be the subject? Once you decide on that, the second item that should come to your mind is, what could ruin the shot when I'm shooting that subject? What do I want to minimize? What do I want to get rid of in the shot? Now, in this case, it's kind of a travel shot, which I call it. It's just, the temple and, Buddha and the prayer rug, a lady or a man, it looks like a lady praying here. So, it's like, to me, if I was here, I would say, okay, the first thing that strikes me as the subject would be the Buddha. So what could ruin it? Well, maybe all this busy stuff that, really isn't interesting. So maybe I'd get in and stand here and get a shot of just this, Then what else is interesting? Well, this reflection is kind of interesting. Too bad that prayer rug is there. But maybe I could stand way back and get a big, wide expanse shot. Being further away, all these things that I think are ruining the shot would be minimized because they'd be smaller in the shot. And what would dominate, hopefully, would be the Buddha and the reflection of the Buddha. So you'd move far away. So that's what I mean, is decide, when you work the scene, decide what you want to be the subject. And once you decide what you want the subject to be, look around and see what you want to minimize, what you don't want people to notice as readily. So once you're done, I'm done. I decided I want the Buddha to be my subject, and I did as many different angles and shots and things and techniques to minimize the busy things that I didn't want in the shot. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to look around some more. Maybe I could find another subject that I'd like to exploit. Maybe the lady here. Maybe I could exploit a shot, get a shot of her praying with the Buddha in the background or something. Look around. Maybe there's some stuff. Maybe this is real ornate carvings right here, and I want to get a shot of that. So that's what I mean by working the scene, is don't just spray and pray. Really think it through and think of what you want to be the subject, and then once you decide on that, think of what you want to minimize, that you don't want to be interfering with anyone's enjoyment of observing the subject that you just photographed. This is probably the outside of the temple. It's okay. I mean, you got whenever you're using a wide angle, there's no information on the type of lens used. But whenever you're using a wide angle, you'll get this distortion of the buildings. It always looks like the sides are falling in and the building's falling backwards. So you could correct for that in Lightroom, in some other programs, in Photoshop, if you want, or you could exploit it. You maybe get down in the corner over here and shoot up at it and have everything bending away from you, or get down low and shoot up at these I don't know if those are dragons, and shoot up at those, and kind of get the expression and the feeling of the face of this carving, you know what I mean? So that's, work the scene, think of what you could exploit in the shot to make the shot interesting, and go from there. So that's it. I really do appreciate James sending me in his images, a nice variety images. Just remember, when you're shooting those birds, shoot on shutter priority mode, and try to use, if you're using a 400mm lens, that's what it is with your teleconverter, that you have to use at least the number 1 over whatever the millimeter is. That has to be your shutter speed to keep it still. So 1/400th of a second. That's kind of a universal norm, to get an idea of the minimum shutter speed you should use so you don't get camera shake. And if you could go faster, even go faster. And that's it. I do appreciate everyone watching my videos. Thank you very much. Guys, do me a favor, if you haven't already, if you could go over to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I'd really appreciate that. That's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.